Spinco. Remember Spinco? Well, they got a fancy new French name like Versant or something. I don't know what the point is of that is, but anyway, Versant is the company that's going to be spun off from one Comcast cable, because Comcast is figuring out, well, cable is just not the place to be anymore, at least not in the content creation section, because, oh gosh, you can do that over here on YouTube, right? You don't actually need to own an MSNBC if you're Comcast anymore, because nobody actually needs to go and get MSNBC content anymore, or even CNBC content. Let's face it, I used to work there, and the thinking was, well, you need CNBC because people need to see the stock prices. That was back in the day, right? Now you can get your stock prices anytime you want to get your stock prices. It's not like you have to have CNBC in order to see that, or Bloomberg or anything else. It's not like you have to have MSNBC in order to get the news. In fact, I think most people would say, let me save myself the cable money and just watch whatever I can with this whole new crew, right, of creators like myself over here on YouTube and in other places. Spotify, for example, or Apple iTunes. You have all of this content now available for free in these places. So why would you have a heavy, pricey, expensive cable subscription? They're going out of business. They're going out of business. It's a going out of business sale. Take a look at this one. Whoa, those ratings are bad numbers. Overall for the month of May, MSNBC dropping 41% in the primetime demo, 34% in the total day demo compared to May of 2024 in total views. Networks down 33% over the course of the day, 24% in primetime. I mean, these are really bad numbers. MSNBC, total day demo viewership is at 49,000. Total day, average viewers, 73,000. Hey, you guys, we're doing better over here on the Trish Regan channel. 73,000, my gosh. It's over, okay? It's over. So Versant, the new Spinco that's coming out of Comcast and going to be traded on its own, and there's some tax advantages to doing it. Versant is actually coming out with its new lineup, and I want to point something out that's kind of interesting, shall we say. I was looking at the Hollywood Reporter story on this. You know, they're announcing all these new things that they're coming out with there at Versant. You know what's conspicuously absent? Let me see. They get new shows at Sci-Fi, new shows at USA Network, big stuff they're talking about at their NBC upfronts. Guess what you're not hearing about? MSNBC. Crickets. I'm not even seeing anything for CNBC. Crickets. Because, well, news to a certain extent now is a commodity. Let's face it, right? I mean, that's the reality of this business. And so if you're in the commodity business, you can kind of get it anywhere. So then it becomes suddenly something different. You're going to tune in as a viewer because you like a personality. You like their particular viewpoint. You're over here on the Trish Regan channel. I mean, we're growing, right? Because there's something that we're doing here that's different than what you would get, say, at these networks. And so you don't need the networks anymore. They become the commodity that then become very expensive to produce. Are you seriously telling me you were paying Rachel Maddow $30 million a year? And now she's just down to 25 to do one show a week? I'm sorry, guys, that's a bad deal. That's a bad trade. You don't know what you're doing. In which case, I actually think there's going to be a certain amount of pressure on Versant to get rid of these heavy, expensive cable news anchors because they're weighing you down and you're not going to be able to turn a profit. I mean, it's not just MSNBC, for goodness sakes. I mean, look at this thing over at CNN. They're down 24% in total day viewers, 27% in the daytime demo. Primetime network dropped 18% in total viewers, 21% in the demo. I mean, you're looking at a primetime average there of 426,000 viewers compared to, well, Fox is doing great, 2.5 million viewers over on Fox. Fox is doing a lot better, maybe because people actually believe what Fox is telling them is now true. And look, I know Fox is not perfect. I'm living proof of that, right? You know, they're only going to take it so far. At some point, you can push the truth a little too much for even the corporate bigwigs to handle, perhaps at a place like Fox. But the reality is still this: they were more correct than the likes of MSNBC. They were more correct than the likes of CNN. CNN, who's Jake Tapper, has to do this giant mea culpa all over network television now, and podcasts as well. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You were right. You bet we were right. That's why nobody watches CNN in the first place. And you know what else they don't watch? This little show number that's replacing MSNBC. Peppermint Patty, the redhead that used to work for one Joe Biden and used to sell his you-know-what all day long. Guess what? Her numbers so far registered a giant dip for the hour. I mean, she can't beat Rachel. I mean, you can't beat Rachel. I don't know what to tell you. Simone Sanders and the other ones, they're not even beating, Joy Reid? Joy Reid with all her hate that she was pushing every single night. They can't even beat her. They're down 20 some odd percent over there, or 30 some odd percent there on that hour. But here's Jen Psaki, who is getting 46% less than the viewers that were watching at 9 p.m. last year. I mean, she's also down from Alex Wagner, whoever she is, right? Who was there on Mondays, I guess, to take over for Maddow. But again, no wonder. You get Jen Psaki, who's, by the way, kind of terrified right now. Don't call it a cover-up. Oh, I wasn't covering up for Joe Biden and his deteriorating health and cognitive mental decline. That wasn't me. You wonder why nobody believes her? Here she is, pleading her defense.
I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that, or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right? And all these books are going to tell us.
Like, do you think that were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise, versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right? We're talking, when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime.
I understand, but other people have used that term, and I think it's a bit of a dangerous term.
By the way, Jake Tapper's using that. He actually says it's worse than Watergate. So, Jenny, I don't know. You got out of there kind of fast. Good move. You're not that dumb. It's just you're bad at television because nobody's watching. 46% decline. So where does this leave MSNBC, in my estimation? All right, and this is the business reporter in me. It leaves the company in a position where it either needs to cut costs drastically, maybe even get rid of the network altogether, or just completely reposition. They're probably not going to completely reposition. They're not going to call themselves like neutral news, pretending like CNN, okay, we stand for everything, even though we're totally left. I think they're going to continue doubling down on this leftist nonsense. They're hoping the AOC is going to ride them off into the sunset, which is why they're saying so many positive things about AOC lately. But there's just not a big enough audience for it, especially in a splintered environment where people are coming over here to little old Trish Regan, right, on YouTube, where we're growing 800,000 strong and getting all these viewers. It is a different marketplace. And so what they're selling, nobody's buying. So what do you do if you're Versant, the new fancy schmancy Spinco? You get rid of people like Jen Psaki, who are sucking at their performance, right? That's what you do. You get rid of them. You don't pay up for the likes of Rachel Maddow, who can't even deliver on her old numbers. You clean house, or you shut down, because you've got Sci-Fi, you've got the Oxygen Network, you've got all these other properties, right? Where you can offer something a little bit different and that is not basically putting you in opposition in the administration every single day, day in and day out, and wearing on your viewers to the point where they don't want to see it anymore. You either get rid of the network or you let it hobble on in a more cost-effective way. So again, Gone are the big salaries. Didn't Joe and Mika say they were worried about getting fired? At one point, they may be gone. They may be gone. They really may be. I think you've already seen CNN do a lot of this. I mean, granted, they've had layoffs already at MSNBC, at ABC, at all of these places, right? This is just the new reality of the world in which they're living. But as we see Spinco come, or Versant, as I should say, to the public marketplace, there's going to be additional pressure on this company that's a standalone to actually turn some revenues. And if it just happens that sci-fi is, banking it, but MSNBC is losing money because they're paying all this, coin to the likes of Rachel Maddow, et cetera, or Jen Psaki, then it's over. Or Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. It's over for them. They either shutter the place or they cut costs drastically. They do not have a choice. The world has changed, and I would say, for the better.